Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance Webinar to Success for December 2021 exams. I am your tutor, Kashif Kamran. Today is the day 3 of this webinar to success. Let's see what is the agenda of the day 3. Now, in terms of the agenda for the day 3, we need to discuss the ethical, professional, and quality control issues today, which is the agenda for day 3. And you all know that ethical, professional, and quality control issues is a very, very important feature of the Advanced Audit and Assurance exam. Now, just before we start the ethical, professional, and quality control issue, yesterday on the day 2, we were discussing business risk, and that is to be carried forward on the day 3 today as well, because we were left with writing the answer. We picked up the business risk. We had a discussion on business risk. We had the marking scheme of business risk, but we were left with writing the answer. So I will spend the first 30 to 40 minutes on the business risk, right where we left the day 2 yesterday, from the same December 18 question number 1, where we were discussing the risk of material misstatement and the business risk. I hope you have clarity about that. So where we ended the day 2, I'm resuming the day 3 from that point in time. And then after completing the business risk, I'll be starting with the specific agenda, which is ethical, professional, and quality control issues. I hope you're all clear with the agenda of the day 3. Please confirm that, and also please confirm that everything is in the orderly manner, that you can hear me and the presentation is being shared with you, so we can proceed down and start the day 3. Okay, thank you so much. Let's start the day 3 then. Now, the very first thing we are starting the day 3 with is the business risk, where we left things incompleted yesterday. Now, we discussed business risk. We discussed what that is. We discussed how you can identify a business risk from a given situation in the exam paper. And we even discussed the marking scheme of a business risk. We identified business risk from the December 18 question number 1, which was about the Redback Sports Company. And we continuously use the 2 different color highlighters. We use the green color highlighter, we use the pink color highlighter to segregate between, okay, this is a risk of material misstatement and this is the business risk. And we read through the exhibit number 1, which was the email of the partner. We read the exhibit 2, which was the background of the company. And we read through the exhibit 3, which is basically the extracts of the financial statement. Now, just before we move on, let me put the question in front of you we were discussing yesterday. I hope you can see in front of the screen the question we were going through yesterday with the same annotations. You can see the annotations in green and the annotations in pink. I hope you remember the case study, because I will not be discussing the case study again, right? So I hope you have the background of the case study. The green was the business risk, right? And the pink was the ROM. And the yellow was equally a business risk as well as a ROM. So we colored yellow for equal business risk and a ROM. So we had a lot of greens and pinks and yellows. We are focusing on the greens today, which is basically the business risk. We'll see the marking scheme of business risk, and we'll also see how you write an answer for business risk. Now, just before that, I hope you remember that I was discussing with you on the day 1 that there has been a change in the syllabus area D2. An examiner could give you results in a form of a dashboard. Now, yesterday, when we were looking at the exhibit number 3 of the December 18 paper, I hope you can see the exhibit 3 on your screen now. This is the way the examiner used to give you the results in the previous exam setting, the last year numbers and the current year numbers, and selected financial data. Now, the examiner gives you the last year number and the current year number. You can take out the calculator and find how much things are increasing and decreasing. Examiner at times even give you the ratio. See this operating margin? Examiner has given you the operating margin. So examiner has directly given you the ratio, operating margin. So examiner do give you some selected financial data, but this is the form of the data. But I was just wondering that in the context of a dashboard result, I tried converting this result into a dashboard, how it could look in the exam paper. Can you see on the screen a revenue, 45 million in the last year and 53 million this year? Can you see the operating margin, 10.7% and 15%? Can you see the profit before tax? Can you see the number of sports and leisure center, 18 and 20? Can you see the number of members last year, this year? And can you see number of pay as you go entry tickets sold? Now, this is the way the data has been presented, but I thought the data could be presented this way as well. Let me show you that. Okay, can you see a dashboard result in front of you now, everyone? Right now, this is what I did. I translated the result of the exhibit 3 myself by using an Excel file for the sake of your convenience, and I converted that into a dashboard look. So you really understand what is a syllabus change D2. So results in future exams might start to come this way. And in some countries, in the September 21 exams, the results were presented this way for the inventory holding period. So examiner will give you graphical results. Examiner will give you results in the form of a pie chart, bar chart, line chart. Okay, thank you very much, Asha, for confirming that in India, it was tested that way. So that means examiner has already started putting results in a form of a graphical representation. Now look at the results coming here in the December 18 paper on your screen. Can you see the December 18 paper on your screen now again with the results coming in? December 18 paper. Can you see the results again? Okay. See the results here. See the results here. Okay. Thank you, Oe, for confirming that in Canada it was tested the same way. Thank you. So in India and in Canada, it was tested in a form of a dashboard. So I hope you get a realization of that, everyone. Now look at the dashboards. Can you see the dashboard again on your screen? In Malaysia too. Thank you. So can you see the dashboard now, everyone? So those students who got the dashboard in Malaysia, in India, in Canada, can you confirm this is exactly the way examiner will put the results in form of like charts and graphical representation? Okay, in Singapore, in Zimbabwe, and in Kuwait. Thank you. Thank you so much. So in lots of countries, in Mauritius as well. So that's good. And even in pie chart, right? In UAE as well. Okay. So now look at this. Can you see the red? The red is donating the 2008 and the blue is donating the 2009. So every student who look at the revenue graph, can you see the revenue is rising from the last year? Can you see the revenue is rising from 2008 to 2009? So again, is there a risk that the revenue could be overstated? Is there a risk that the revenue has increased a lot from the last year? Can you pick in how much was the revenue in the last year and this year? Can you see these numbers coming on the left side, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54? So can you pick up that the red line is at 44? Approximately 44 million was the revenue last year. But then you look at the blue line, right? The blue line is approximately near the $52 million. So it's $52 million in the current year. So is the revenue rising? Can you find the percentage rise of the revenue? Taking the calculator out? Yes. So what is the stress level if the results comes this way? Tell me. So this is the syllabus change D2. And I feel this is easier because looking at something graphically is more easier. I hope you all agree with me. What is so difficult with the results coming this way now? And this is what your examiner wants to know, that if the results comes in the form of a dashboard, which will definitely come onwards from December exams, you should be prepared looking at results this way. So are you all clear what results in dashboard mean? Are you all clear what a syllabus change D2 means? That you will get graphical results instead of the results you're looking for in the December 18 paper? Okay, great. See, I just converted that. I will share this file with you on your WhatsApp group, so don't worry about it. See, I put the profit margin as well. I put the profit margin and the operating profit margin in the dashboard form. I even put the cash of the company in the form of the dashboard. Can you see the last year the cash was so high, red, and this year the cash is so low in blue? So can you easily pick up in the exam the cash has fallen down very, very drastically? Does that mean there are liquidity problems for the business with the cash falling so rapidly? Looking at the red line and the blue line, everyone. So you need to be familiar with the dashboard because this is known as data analytics. This is how you present results in a data analytic form, that you try to visualize the results. You try to present results graphically. I hope you're all clear with this, right? So this is exactly the D2. This is exactly the dashboards. Okay, now moving back to the question we were on December 18. This is the way the results are presented in the old paper. Examiner might continue to use the blend of the old and the new. So examiner might not exactly give you every result in a dashboard form, but some results in dashboard, some results the way they used to come in the old papers, right? I hope you've heard me loud and clear. Okay, now let's look at the first business risk we found in order of this case. The first business risk we found yesterday in green was this. Given the nature of the company, it has to comply with health and safety regulations set by the National Regulatory Authority. And we decided that this is a compliance risk. If the company fails to comply with the rules and regulations set by the National Regulatory Authority, the company could be penalized, right? And the company could lose the license, right? So these are linked with the operating license of the company. So we need to connect this with the business objective, that if you fail to comply with the rules and regulations, you might lose your operating license and that might threaten your survival as a business, right? Is that clear to all of you? Now, how would you write an answer? Listen to me carefully before we write the answer. Okay, can you see the December 18 answers in front of you, everyone? Okay, and you go to the last page where you have the marking scheme. Okay, can you all see the marking scheme in front of you? December 18 marking scheme, can you all see that? Right, now see what is the marking scheme, which is also the most updated marking scheme applicable for the 2021 exams. Up to 2 marks for each audit, for each business risk identified and explained. Examiner has made a mistake by writing the word audit, because on the top the examiner is giving the heading business risk, but under that the examiner mistakenly wrote audit risk. So just let me put that on my presentation for the sake of the clarity. Look at the marking scheme for business risk. This is I took from the March-June 21 paper, because examiner made the typing mistake by writing audit risk instead of business risk in the December 18 paper. Business risk evaluation, up to 2 marks. Can you see the presentation, everyone, on your screen? Okay, that's great if you can see that. So the presentation tells you up to 2 marks for each business risk evaluated, up to 2 marks. Then look at something interesting. Examiner is saying up to 2 marks for each business risk evaluated, but the examiner comes with something of a good news for you. Examiner says, in addition. Can you look at this word in addition? Does in addition mean something extra than 2? In addition means extra than 2. Agree, disagree? Agree. Thank you. So in addition, half a mark for each relevant trend, or a calculation which form part of a relevant explanation of a risk. Suppose you find a trend and you incorporate that trend in your business risk answer. Suppose you do a calculation and you incorporate that calculation in your business risk answer. Will you get an extra half a mark for that? Yes. But if you do a calculation and you don't incorporate in your business risk answer, will you get extra half a mark for it? No. So if a trend is identified and if a calculation is identified and that is included in the business risk answer, you will get extra half a mark for that. Yes, that's the same for the audit risk answer. That's the same for the ROM answer as well, right? How many half a marks you can get? Maximum 2. So how many trends and calculations can you find in total? How many maximum trends and calculations you can find in total? 4. Very good answer. Very good answer, Jisha and Rohan. Maximum 4. Now, will you find these calculations and trends forcefully? No, wherever possible. But if you find a trend, if you find a calculation, and you put it part of your business risk answer, can your business risk be worth 2.5 marks? Can the business risk be worth 2.5 marks? Yes, very good. So let's go down and now start writing up the answer. I'm taking on my Word file for the day 3. I hope you can all see the Word file for day 3 in front of your screen now. Please confirm that. So we are starting with the agenda for day 3. Number 1, we are first going down with business risk. This is a continuation from the day 2, continuation from day 2, and then we'll start with day 3. Okay, so let's first go with business risk in continuation from the day 2. Okay. Now, please be very careful that the marking scheme of the business risk is telling you, you might get 2, you might get 2.5. So let's see how we go about it. So the first risk we identified is that the Redback Sports Company operates in a highly regulated industry, right? Agree, disagree? So the first risk we identified, number 1, highly regulated industry. Let's confirm that, right? Just give me 1 minute. We go back to the question paper and confirm that this was exactly the scenario. Look at the green. Given the nature of the company's operation, it has to comply with health and safety regulations set by the National Regulatory Authority. So either you give the heading highly regulated or you give the heading health and safety regulation, whichever you want to follow. But remember, the health and safety regulations are connected with your operating license. So your operating license might get cancelled if you fail to comply with the health and safety regulations, right? So health and safety regulation is the first one. So let's revise the heading and let's put the heading health and safety regulation, which is more specific, health and safety regulations. You write under this, you identify a risk. Now you write and you develop a risk. See how I am developing a risk for 2 marks. Redback needs to comply with health and safety regulations. Redback needs to comply with health and safety regulations in order to maintain the license given by the regulatory authority. If there is any non-compliance, if there is any non-compliance by Redback in relation to laws and regulations, the company may lose its license. The company may lose its license, and this may threaten the company survival. This may threaten the company survival, full stop. Right? So the question was mentioning that you had a license, right? So license is connected with laws and regulations. So Redback needs to comply with health and safety regulations in order to maintain the license given by the regulatory authority. If there is any non-compliance, so what's the risk? The risk is any non-compliance by Redback, the company may lose license. So what is the impact of the risk? May lose license is the impact of the risk. and this may threaten the survival. So have I written the risk and the impact? So sometime you have to write a risk with if, because you're not sure. See this. Sometimes you have to write a risk with if. Are you sure there will be a non-compliance? No, but there might be. So sometime you need to think about the future. So I told you yesterday in my day 2 that the business risk can be in present and the business risk can be in future. So currently the company has done no non-compliances, right? No, Shahrukh. This is not a speculation. This is a possibility, right? Because every time you have to comply with a law, there is a chance of a non-compliance. So this is not speculative, right? Laws and regulation is a case given situation, Shahrukh, and you are just trying to create a possibility out of it. So every time there is a law, is there a chance of a non-compliance, everyone? Every time there is a law and regulation, is there a chance of a non-compliance? And did I mention you yesterday that a business risk can be in present and the business risk can be in future? So currently have they done any non-compliances? No. But can they do non-compliances in future? Can they do non-compliances in future? Yes. So we can write the business risk in present. We can write the business risk in future. So every industry which is regulated has a risk of a non-compliance. Every industry which is regulated has a risk of non-compliance. So this is a potential threat. Exactly, this is a potential threat. So see, just 2 sentences and I get my 2 marks. No dragging, no unnecessarily dragging. My answer is complete. And you go to the next risk. Let's see what was the next risk in order. Go back to the case study. Let's see the next green. The next green we had a yellow. A small internal audit department reporting to the finance director. They don't have an audit committee. So is it equally a ROM and equally a business risk? A small internal audit department reporting to the finance director. We highlighted this in yellow, means it's equally a ROM and equally a business risk. So small internal audit department. Let's take this to my Word file. Okay, a small internal audit department. Okay, this way. And you try to justify why a small internal audit department is a business risk, not a ROM, right? Not a ROM. So you say the small internal audit department reports to the finance director, which means it lacks independence, The small internal audit department reports to the finance director, which means it lacks independence, which could limit the scope of the work performed by the internal audit department, because the internal audit department would be under an intimidation threat from the finance director. The internal audit department cannot go against the finance director. You cannot identify the fraud of the finance director. So which could limit the scope of the work performed by the internal audit department. And this by the internal audit department, including the monitoring of the internal controls, So the internal audit department, because he's not independent, will not be monitoring the internal controls very well. They will be, but not very well. Controls. Full stop. This could lead to deficiencies in internal controls, not timely identified, particularly those deficiencies which relates to the finance director or which are under the ambit of the finance director. This could lead to deficiencies in internal controls not timely identified, causing business inefficiencies. I hope you agree with my point here that the weak internal controls causes inefficiencies in the business. Because controls basically improve the effectiveness of the business. Agree, disagree? Controls basically improve the effectiveness of the business. So if the controls are weak, they will cause inefficiencies. inefficiencies, right? Causing business inefficiencies. Full stop. So we are just writing a risk. See, you have a small internal audit department. What's the risk? The risk is it lacks independence. That's the first risk, bold, which could limit the scope. So the scope could be limited. That's another problem. And including the monitoring. So the monitoring could be weak. So have we justified the risk? What is the impact of the risk? The impact of the risk means it could lead to deficiencies in internal control not identified. Number one impact. Number two impact, causing business inefficiencies. So look at my statement number one, look at my statement number two. Every statement has a risk and an impact. That is a complete answer worth 2 marks. I've seen students dragging the answer on business risk, stretching the answer on business risk, writing a story on a business risk. How many marks you have? 10. How many marks you have? 10. And 10 marks means how many time you have in the exam to complete it off? 20 minutes maximum. Now, when the internal audit department is lacking independence, who sets the scope? Who sets the scope of the internal audit department? The finance director. So will the finance director like the scope to be wider? No, the finance director would not like the scope to be wider of the internal audit department because the finance director wants to conceal the frauds. So do you believe the finance director will give liberty to the internal audit department? Do you believe the finance director will give opportunity to the internal audit department to investigate the fraud? No. So will the finance director limit the scope of the internal audit department because he lacks independence? Right? Good. Next, let's see what was the next risk we found. So far, we're finding risk for just 2 marks. Okay, can you see the risk number 3? Industry is competitive. So it's a competitive industry. Is that a business risk? Competitive industry, does that mean there is a lot of rivalry in the industry? Does that mean there is a lot of pressure on your market share? Right? So it's a competitive industry, right? Now we'll see if we can make a 2.5 mark risk here. Just let me show you something. The industry is competitive. So in a competitive industry, do you need to do a lot of marketing? Do you need to do a lot of marketing expense to sustain the competition? Agree, disagree? Okay, look at the marketing expense. How much marketing expense have they done in exhibit number 3? Okay, in the exhibit number 3. Okay, can you look at the marketing expense here? $8.5 million. Marketing expense, $8.5 million. Can you see that? Now, marketing expense relate with sales, right? How much is the sales of the company? The sales of the company is $53 million. And the marketing expense in correlation to sales is $8.5 million. Can you find out a percentage? How much is marketing expense as a percentage of sales? How much is marketing expense as a percentage of sales? 8.5 million is the marketing expense and $53 million is the sales of the current year, 2009. Can anyone use the calculator and find the percentage? 16%. Does that justify it's a competitive industry? 16% of your revenue is a marketing expense. Is that quite significant? Tell me. Is that quite significant? Does it justify that you are under competition? You are under competition. So have we performed a calculation? And will this calculation give us an extra half a mark? Right. So let's go back and develop a point for 2.5 marks. Okay, competitive industry. So you need to write the features of a competitive industry. You all know the features of a competitive industry. So you will say, Redback being part of a competitive industry. Can you see the word file again? Redback being part of a competitive industry will be under tremendous pressure, to sustain its market share to sustain its market share, and to maintain its competitive position. I hope that's quite journal. Redback, being part of a competitive industry, will be under tremendous pressure, definitely, because they have to sustain the market share and to maintain its competitive position. In 20x9, already in 20x9, the marketing expense in 20x9, the marketing expense is 16% of the revenue. Is 16% of the revenue, which justify that indeed market rivalry is high, and the company has to put a lot in marketing to sustain competition, which is a significant pressure on the cash resources. Liquidity, right? Already the liquidity position of this business is down from the last year, right? But we can make another point on liquidity, right? See, Redback, being part of a competitive industry, will be under tremendous pressure. That's a journal phenomena of a competitive industry. In 20x9, the marketing expense is 16%. We calculated that of the revenue, which justify that indeed market rivalry is high. If a business is incurring 16% of its revenue as a marketing expense, does it justify that the rivalry is high? That is the reason you're doing such a high marketing cost. And the company has to put a lot in the marketing to sustain competition, which is a significant pressure on the cash resources. Already your cash resources have gone down. So what is the risk here? The risk here is sustaining the market share. That's number one risk. What is the second risk? Maintaining competitive position, second risk. What is the third risk? A risk on your cash resources going down and sustaining competition. So how many marks will I get here? 2 or 2.5? I will get 2 plus 0.5 because I did a calculation of 16%. I did a analysis of a 16%. An examiner will be happy looking at that 16% in my answer, and the examiner will reward me 2.5 marks. Are you clear with this? So are you finding the way of writing the answer? Am I dragging my answer? Or am I just keeping my answer to 2 to 3 sentences? No need to show working, Hamza. You can just directly find the percentage and put it down. No need to show the working. Is that clear to all of you? Can we just make one last point and exit from the situation? Okay, let's make the last point for your sake of safety. Can you see the cash balance of the company has gone down a lot? Can you see this on your screen? The cash was 5.6 million last year, and the cash is 1.4 million this year. Can you find the percentage? How much is the percentage fall in the cash balance, everyone? How much is the percentage fall in the cash balance? Percentage fall. 5.6 million is the cash in the last year, and the cash this year is 1.4 million. 75%. Okay, 75% is a fall in the cash balance. Okay, good. Thank you. Now, is that significant? Now, tell me, in order to sustain competition, do they need to incur a high marketing cost? Number one. And they are running the sports and leisure center. Look at this. They're running the sports and leisure center. So should they keep them up to date? Does that need a lot of repairs, maintenance to keep them up to date? Because if they're not up to date, will the customer go to another sport and leisure center? Because you are part of a competitive industry. Look at your repair and maintenance cost. See, your repair and maintenance cost has increased over the last year. Last year it was 53. This time it's 55. So when you are in a competitive industry, do you need to incur a lot of repair and maintenance costs to keep your leisure centers up to date? Because if your leisure centers are not up to date, the customer will go to a competitor. So do you need to keep them up to date? So do you need to incur a lot on repairs and maintenance? And repair and maintenance has increased a lot over the last year, right? So that means there is a pressure, there is a growing pressure. So the liquidity position is quite difficult here. It's going down by 75%. So let's make the last point on cash. Okay, cash as a heading. And under cash as a heading, see how am I picking the heading? So the assessor who's checking my paper, at least pick which point am I writing. I'm trying to pick the words from the case study. Cash is a word in the case study. Competitive industry is a word in case study. Small internal audit department is a word in case study. So try to pick the words from the case study. So anyone who's checking the paper can exactly pick which point you're writing. Is that clear? Cash, and you write under this. The cash balance, just give me 1 minute, right? Really apologize for this. Okay, I hope you can all hear me back, right? I'm really apologize. There was just some emergency at my home, so just need to rush for that. So now everything is in control. So I hope you can all hear me back, right? Okay, thank you. So we were discussing the cash balance, right? The cash balance for Redback, the cash balance for Redback has fallen by 75% over the last year, has fallen by 75% over the last year, which is significant, fall, full stop. Now, 75 is a percentage, right? You will get half a mark for that, which is a significant fall. Now, what's the risk with this fall? This indicates growing liquidity issues. This indicates growing liquidity issues for the company, which is under a competitive industry, Already, there is a pressure on cash outflow due to high marketing cost as above, and high repair and maintenance, high repair and maintenance cost to keep the leisure centers at par, to keep the leisure centers at par with rivals, full stop. So the cash balance has gone down. This indicates a growing liquidity issue. So the growing liquidity issue is the business risk here, number one, and 75% fall is a percentage, which is indicating a business risk. And why is this risk being caused? This risk is being caused because of the high marketing cost and a high repair and maintenance cost for the business. And that has to be incurred, whether you like it or you don't like it, because you need to keep your leisure centers at par. So is that a nature of industry, competitive, putting pressures on your cash outflows? So is there a lot of pressure on your cash outflows? Is there a lot of pressure on your cash outflows? Right. So how many marks will I be getting here? 2, 2.5. 2 plus 0.5. I will be getting 2.5 marks, right? Because I found a percentage, 75%. So please ensure, first of all, when you are preparing a topic at home, be sure about the marking scheme, because that help you write a good answer, number one. Secondly, whenever you are reading a case study, read a case study top down, and on a practice platform, use two different color highlighters. One highlighter for a business risk, one highlighter for a risk of material misstatement, so that you can segregate, okay, this is what I need to write under the business risk, this is what I need to write under the ROM. I hope you liked that practice yesterday. Then you pick up a risk like a heading. See, for every risk, I pick a heading and I converted that to an answer. I didn't drag my answer. I didn't exaggerated my answer, but I focused on finding the risk and I focused on finding the impact. So in a theoretical paper, you need to use headings with paragraph. Right? Is that clear? So will you continue writing the rest of the answer on the same track? Have you got the track of writing a business risk answer? So we don't write any accounting treatments in business risk. We don't write understatements and overstatements in business risk. We don't write financial statements could be materially misstated in business risk, right? This is exactly how the business risk is written. You find the problem and you connect the problem with a risk, business risk. And the risk could be a weakness. A risk could be a threat. So health and safety regulation is a threat for future. Small internal audit department is a weakness. Competitive industry is a threat. Cash is a weakness. Your cash balance has gone down. That's a weakness. So see, the threat, the risk is around the threats and weaknesses within a case study given to you by the examiner. Let's make a quick summary and exit from it. A summary. Now, please be with me in the summary. First of all, whenever you are attempting a question on business risk, whenever attempting a question on business risk, please assure you read it top down to identify the number of risk you need to pick up. Business risk could be picked up from the background information of the company, from the background info of the company, as well as from the extracts of the financial statements, from the extracts of the financial statements or the dashboard results or the graphical results So can you just find business risk from the background? No, you can also find the business risk from the financial statements, right? Like the cash balance going down, like the marketing expense being very heavy to the sales. See, we found some of the business risk from even the numbers, right? So can numbers be potential to find the business risk, everyone? Can numbers be potential to find business risk, everyone? Good. So business risk can not just be found from the background information, they can be found from the financial statements as well. So you can find a lot of business risk from the numbers, right? Third, be assured how many business risk you need to write. Suppose you have 8 marks, so ideally 4 business risk are good. Now, some of them will be 2, some of them will be 2.5, right? So if you have 10 marks, then 5 so are good. So when you're reading the case, exactly you know how to go down picking the 4 business risks. So I think this point should come first, right? You should first know how many to write. Then you start reading the case and you find 4. Wherever you find 4, stop and convert the answer to the business risk. So you can save a lot of time, right? For each business risk, put a heading followed by a 2 to 4 sentence answer, which focus on risk and the impact on the business objectives, like liquidity, like losing the license, something like that. So impact on the business objective. So 2 to 4 sentences, not lines, right? There is a difference between a line and a sentence. I'm not saying 2 to 4 lines. I'm saying 2 to 4 sentences, which is different, right? Sentences means where you put a full stop, right? Okay, the last thing, business risk can arise from a weakness and from a threat, right? So a weakness can be a business risk, a threat can be a business risk. See the list above. Cash was your weakness because it was something inside. Competitive industry is the rivalry, which is outside. So it's a threat. Small internal audit department was ideally your weakness, and health and safety regulation was a potential threat that in future you might do a non-compliance. So we didn't use those jargons, but business risk can be identified from a weakness or a threat. I hope you're clear with that. Is everyone clear? Sound? Because that's the limitation of these free webinars. You can just get an idea and then you need to move on towards your success, right? I hope you got the track. And any student who follows the track, you will be successful. Don't compare these webinars with full courses, with proper classes. These webinars are not a substitute of that. These webinars are just guidance for students who are doing self-study, who are looking for guidance, and who are looking for some track to success, right? Headings are good, right, Zara? You should put headings. Headings with paragraphs is an ideal way you present a theoretical answer, whether it is a AAA paper or an SPL paper. Okay, should we move out of the business risk, which was a continued agenda from the day 2? I hope you like the dashboard results. I shown you that this is how the dashboard results might come in future exams as well. I will be sharing this picture with you. So you might get results more graphically this way in your future exams. I hope that is another learning for all of you, right? So looking at the graphical results and finding what's going up and what's coming down is very, very crucial. Okay, now let's move on to my presentation back again. And let's go down, starting with the proper agenda of the day 3. Can you all see the presentation back again for day 3, where we are discussing ethical, professional, and quality control matters? Okay, that's great. So welcome back again. Now we are starting with the day 3 of the webinar to success. We have finished off business risk, which was a continued agenda from day 2. Now we're coming to a very specific agenda of day 3, which is to discuss ethical, professional, and quality control matters. Let's start the journey. Let's understand how important this topic is for your success in the AAA paper. Just before starting that, let me prepare my Word file for it. Let's take on a fresh page, put the heading ethical, professional, and quality control issues, and start the agenda. Ethical, professional, and quality control issues. You will realize in the next 2 hours how critical this topic is for your success in the AAA paper. Okay, let's start that here. Okay, now when you look at the ethical, professional, and quality control issues as an agenda for day 3, the only one article to read is the exam technique article part 1 on ethics. So you will read the exam technique article part 1 on ethics so that you know exactly how to write a good answer on ethics. We'll be looking at the examiner do's and don'ts over the next 2 hours. I'll be discussing with you scatteredly the examiner do's and don'ts. We'll be looking at the September 18 paper, question number 1D, question number 2B, question number 3B. In one exam sitting, 3 questions on the same topic. That really tells you the story, how important can this topic be in your exam success. I think 24 marks in a 100 marks paper in September 18 were allocated to this topic. That shows you the significance. And that's the reason I've chosen September 18 paper, just to give you something to think about. That 1/4 of your paper in September 18 was from this topic. What if any future exams comes the same way? So if you are weak in this topic, Don't shy away from this topic. If you're weak in this topic, find the weakness, investigate the weakness, overcome the weakness. Because if you're weak in this topic, you will never pass the AAA paper, because this is such an important part of the AAA exams. Then the home assignment is complete the questions I will be doing today with you and watch the previous webinars, which I will be recommending to you. I hope you're clear with this. The previous webinars to watch beside this webinar to success is a June 21 webinar, is the March 21 webinar, and the December 20 webinar. The hyperlinks are given here. So once you get the presentation on your WhatsApp group, you can just click on the link and you can reach the desired webinar and you can start to watch it. 3 webinars with the webinar to success, that's 4. That's in total like 12 hours. 12 hours will really refine your mindset about ethical, professional, and quality control issues, and you will start feeling more motivated and more comfortable with this topic, ethical, professional, and quality control issues. I hope you're all clear on this so far, so forth. Okay, moving on. Now, first of all, you need to understand that what exactly the examiner asks for in a question, so you are very well prepared. Now, when you look at the examiner expectation, when a question asks for ethical issues or ethical and professional issues, let's first investigate the nature of the question so that we are capable of investigating the right answer. Now, when you look at the questions on your screen, the first question says comment or discuss or explain or evaluate any ethical issues relevant and recommend appropriate actions to be taken by firm. So the first question is asking you to focus only on the ethical issues which are relevant to the case study and put appropriate actions. Pretty simple question, right? And I believe students are good into this question because they at least know to pick up the ethical issues. Am I right? Students are very sound when it comes picking up the ethical issues from a case study. And then recommending actions is like putting the safeguards. So I think the first question is a pretty straightforward question, right? But when you look at the second question says evaluate, comment, identify, or explain the ethical and professional issues and recommend actions to be taken by the firm. Look at this. And to me, this is the big question mark here. Students are so very good at the ethical side. Students are so very good at the side of the actions. Professional is a big question mark, as per my observation of students. They really struggle. They really are confused with what exactly is a professional issue. And I want to put a specific spotlight on this today in my webinar to success. I would not be spotlighting ethical issues. I would not be spotlighting ethical issues because I believe this is a strong area. You can pick from the case the self-review threat or the familiarity threat or the advocacy threat. You can pick from the case conflict of interest, confidentiality, because you're very clever on that, because you know this from your AA paper. But professional issues, a lot of students starts getting a stress level, a high stress level, and they really spoil their question in the actual exam paper. Actions are pretty simple, right? Action means if there is a problem, how would you resolve a problem? So try to understand the literal meaning of the word action to make your life easy. If there is a problem in the case study, how would you overcome the problem? Now, for an ethical issue, that is a safeguard. For any other issue, that is an action to be considered in the context of the case study. You cannot rote learn the actions and go to the exam hall, because you have to take an action which is a good action in the context of the story written by the examiner. So at least you cannot rote learn the actions. Yes, you can rote learn the safeguards, like different partners or different teams. That is some sort of a safeguards you can learn and go to the exam hall, but you cannot learn the actions for other issues. So I believe professional is one issue, right? which needs investigation. I hope you all agree with me. Right? Moving on, before I come to some conclusions here. Ethical issues. Knowing the code of conduct, which all of you know, the IESBA code of conduct. And you all know the code of conduct, right? The professional competence, the professional behavior, the objectivity, the integrity, and the confidentiality. You're all familiar with that. You all know the conflict of interest. You all know the safeguards for conflict of interest. I've covered them so many times in my previous webinar, which I've recommended you to watch, because conflict of interest is also a situation which comes in the exam paper many times. You should know the safeguards as well. Confidentiality. A couple of questions in the past paper has come on confidentiality. I focused on them in my previous webinars. So confidentiality and what are the situations in which the auditor can whistleblow? What are the situations in which the auditor will break confidentiality? I hope you should be familiar with the auditor responsibility to have an obligatory whistleblowing and a voluntary whistleblowing. So auditor should break confidentiality, either obligatory or voluntary. I hope you should be familiar with that from your knowledge. Threats to objectivity and the safeguards. Not just the 5 threats: self-review, self-interest, familiarity, advocacy, and intimidation. Also the management threat, which is very common in the AAA paper. I hope you've heard this terminology, management threat, which is very common in the AAA paper, and the safeguards. Management threat and the safeguards. So you should have an understanding of the ethical issues and appreciate the difference between a listed company and a non-listed company, because the code of ethics is very different for a listed company and a code of ethics is very different for a non-listed company. In a listed company, some services are prohibited and some services are allowed. But in a non-listed company, everything is permissible. You need to have safeguards in place. But for a listed company, you have to be very concerned, because in a case of a listed company, there are some things which are simply prohibited. And for listed company, there are some things which are permissible. For a non-listed company, that's not an issue. That's not an issue. But for a listed company, that is. Now, that is the reason I always recommend students that either from the BPP book or from the Kaplan book, try to read a chapter on ethics. So if you want to be really good on ethical issues, for this, you have to read the book. One chapter of the book, either BPP or Kaplan, because that's where you can be stronger. Edmund, I've referred the 3 webinars, right? And in those 3 webinars, you will come across some sizable knowledge of ethics. The 3 webinars have been recommended, right? Again, Rayan, this is not a classroom, right? So don't expect from me, I'm telling you what are prohibited and what are permissibles, because this is just a webinar giving you the outlines. And the outlines means you have next 1 month to fill the outlines. So Rayan, I hope you get the outlines and you will sit down today and think about, okay, I should read the BPP book for finding the prohibited service, or I should read the Kaplan book for finding the prohibited services. So my responsibility here today is just to give you the outline and you fill up these outlines, right? I think that will be really beneficial. So ethical issues, this is it. So when the question asks you ethical issues, the answer should be within this. It should not be out of this. So examiner can ask you anything out of the bullets written on your screen, ethical issues. Clear? Now, I think students are sound on ethical issues, right? The last one, where students are generally weak, explaining why it is a threat. That is a big issue for me. Students are capable of picking up a threat, but students are not capable of justifying why it is a threat. The student will say, this is a self-review threat, full stop. Why? The student will say, this is a familiarity threat, full stop. Why? This is an intimidation threat, full stop. Why? This is a self-interest threat, full stop. Why? This is an advocacy threat, full stop. Why? This is a management threat, full stop. Why? So if you don't answer why, you're just getting 0.5 marks out of the 1 mark. to identify a threat and to explain why it is a threat, you get 1 mark. But if you just identify a threat and you don't explain why it is a threat in the context of the case, you're just getting 0.5 mark. And imagine how many times you lose 0.5 marks in your actual exam paper. And that is one of the prime reason why you fail at 47, 48, and 49. Because so many times in your 100 marks paper, you are losing 0.5 marks, which you could have saved, and that could have been an opportunity for you to pass. I hope you're getting my relevance on the last bullet. Explain why. So why is very important. If you fail to answer why, you yourself are failing the AAA paper. So this why is your success here. The why is your success. I hope you're getting my point. Once I write an answer for you today, I will be doing that. Don't be worried about it. Okay, now moving onwards, recent examiner comments on ethical issues for you. Overall, candidates had a reasonable attempt at ethical issues. So examiner is saying, okay, most of you are good. However, it is extremely disappointing to see incorrect rules stated for partner rotation and the fee level relating to a listed companies. Examiner is not very happy with students putting incorrect rules. So is it essential to read the book now? Because examiner says you mess up with rules. After how many years the partner should be rotated? Some students write 5 years in the exam, some write 7 years, some might even write 10 years. You should know the exact rule after how long the partner should be rotated. And what is the fee level? Some write 10%. The fee from a client should not exceed 10% of the total income of the firm. Some write 15%, some write 20%. You should know the exact fee level. So is the examiner telling students to come to the exam paper with correct rules? So does that mean to read the books, everyone? Are you getting my point, everyone? Please confirm this. Bullet number 1. Bullet number 2. It is important for candidates to ensure they have sufficient knowledge of ethics. So where will the sufficient knowledge come? Where will the correct rules come? Book. So as a tutor, this is the only area in the AAA paper where I recommend students to read books. Because in the other areas, you have articles, and the other areas are more conceptual. This is an area where you need knowledge, and that can only come from the book. So you still have some time before exam. I hope you have a book or get a book and start reading a chapter on ethics from the book as soon as possible. And I think it will just take 2 to 3 days, and you can make a summary. Listed company prohibited, listed company permissible. So you can just make things very easily, quickly. So this is the comments of the examiner. Not happy with your knowledge, not happy with your rules. The rest he's saying more or less you're better on ethics. Okay, professional issues, big problem. Now, whenever I sit down with students at any forum, whether it is a webinar or my classroom, I normally tell my student that when you look at a case study, right? And in a case study, you need to find the ethical and professional issues. You identify ethical issues from a case study, right? But any issue in the case study, which is other than ethical issue is a professional issue. See this, any specific matter in the case study, which is important or need attention other than ethical issues. So if you look at a case study, and in a case study, you minus the ethics from a case study, whatever is left in the case study is professional. But anything in the case study which is important, but it is not ethical. Anything which is important, but it's not ethical. Anything which is which needs attention, but it's not ethical. So if something is important, but that's not a self-review threat, but something is important, but that is not a conflict of interest. Something is important, but that is not a confidentiality. Something is important, but it is not a management threat. But you believe as a student that this is important. then are you getting a hint in the exam paper that this is a professional matter? This is a professional issue. So if something is important, will you ignore it from writing in the answer just because you cannot justify it as ethical issue? So if something is important and it is not an ethical issue, are you getting a hint to write it down in your answer and justify why that is an important matter? Are you getting my perspective behind the bullet number 1, everyone? So look at the case. And in the case, you have issues. From the issues minus ethics, from the issue minus ethics, what is left? From the issues minus ethics, what is left? Professional. Now, at times it happens that you're reading a case and you are reading and you say, oh, this is very important. But you start thinking, is it a self-review? No. Is it a self-interest? No. Is it a familiarity threat? No. Is it an advocacy threat? No. Is it a conflict of interest? No. But you think this is important. So that means if it is important, but it's not an ethical issue, then you should justify this as a professional issue. I'll be giving examples of ways when I come to the past paper shortly, right? I'm just trying to prepare the ground before I come to the past papers. The more practice you do, the better for you to pick up the professional matters. And today I will be doing that. So one simple phenomena of you picking up the professional matters is look at the case study and exclude all the ethical issues from the case study. What is left in the case study, which you believe is important, is a professional issue. I'm again saying important, not unimportant. Right? Is that clear? I'll give you examples. Don't worry about it. Wes. Right? Let me take you to a case study back. Okay, can you see the practice platform screen in front of your desktops? Please confirm that. Okay, great. So we have to go to September 18, right? September 18 is the practice exam 1. So you click on the practice exam 1 and you open the practice exam 1. Okay, I hope you can see the practice exam 1 on your screen now, which is September 18, right? The question number 1 on your screen, everyone. Okay, we are currently not doing the question number 1, but we're doing the question number 2. So I'll go ahead and we'll go to the next and we'll open the question number 2, section B, question number 2. Okay, can you see the question number 2 in front of your screen now? Right, you have the introduction, you read the introduction first. Did I guided you the sequence of reading yesterday? What you read first and what you read second and how you go about it? Now in this question number 2 and 3, you will always be given the requirements separately. See, you have a 17 marks requirement coming on the left and you have an 8 marks requirement coming on the left, right? It's not like a question number 1. In the question number 1, where are the requirements? In the question number 1, where are the requirements, everyone? In the email of the partner. And the email of the partner is which exhibit in the question number 1? Exhibit number 1. But when you go to the question number 2 and question number 3, because you don't have an email of the partner, so where will you find the requirements of the question 2 and 3? Separately. Requirements. See, can you see a requirement A for 17 marks on the left hand side and requirement B for 8 marks? Right? Now I'm just opening the requirement B. See what comes ahead of you. Look at the requirement B on your screen now. See this. The requirement B says comment on the ethical and professional issues. Comment on the ethical and professional issues raised in respect of the audit of the Turner company and recommend any actions to be taken by your firm. So what sort of ethical and professional issues would you justify in respect of audit of the Turner company? Audit of the Turner company and What actions will you suggest for the issues? 8 marks. Now we know every issue you write in the AAA paper, whether that is an ethical issue, whether that is a professional issue, whether that is a quality control issue, and whether you write an action, everything is flat 1 mark. So simple marking scheme, right? Action 1 mark, quality control issue 1 mark, ethical issue 1 mark, professional issue 1 mark. Is that clear? Everything is 1 mark. So 8 marks means how many points I have to write in the 8 marks answer? 8 points. Now, some of the 8 points will be actions. Some of the 8 points will be professional issues. Some of the 8 points will be ethical issues. So in total, how many points should be there? 8, irrespective whether they are actions, irrespective whether they are professional issues, or irrespective whether they are ethical issues, right? Now, I hope you can see the requirement, right? So we'll take this requirement on the Word file for a proper analysis. Control C. I'm closing the window. I'm giving you the case study to read. I think this is the exhibit 2 where the answer is for the requirement B. So I'm just putting the exhibit B in front of you, the second exhibit. Okay, this is the second exhibit, which is the Turner Company, audit of the Turner Company, right? Okay, can you just read out this in 2 minutes or 3 minutes in front of your screen? Can you all see this? Is this visible to all of you? This small case study of just 2 paragraphs. Just read this and tell me, are you capable of finding the problems? Okay, start reading it now. See on your own basis, how many ethical and professional issues can you find in next 3 minutes? Your time starts now. And I'll wait for your answers. Quickly. Just a small case study, be quick. And I'll do with you simultaneously. I'm also reading with my pen and paper in hand. Okay, have you all read it? Possibly. Okay, very good. Let's go down. See what it says. It says it's from the manager to the supervisor, subject on Turner Company audit. Hello. So the supervisor is telling the manager something. Hello. As you know, I'm currently working on the interim audit of the Turner. There are some issues which I would like to discuss with you. So who is discussing these issues? The supervisor. With whom? The manager. Let's see, what are the issues? Number one of the team member, Janet. This is the first issue, so we should highlight this in yellow. So the first issue is moving around Janet. She has agreed to take out a loan from the client, and we'll need to find out, is there any ethical implication of Janet taking a loan from client to purchase a domestic residence? This loan will be secured on a property, and the client business manager has promised Janet that he will ensure that she gets the very best deal the bank can offer. So the very best deal the bank can offer, Janet will be getting the best deal. Why Janet will be getting the best deal from the bank? What is the reason? Why will Janet be getting the very best deal from the bank? Because she's an audit member. So is the bank trying to influence Janet? But they know if we can influence Janet, Janet will be our friend and Janet will be working in our favor, right? So is it like intimidating, Janet, that will give you the best deal, and then you should not disclose any of our frauds and any of our mistakes, right? Next, the payroll manager at Turner has asked the audit supervisor, the payroll manager, right, at the Turner company has asked the supervisor if it would be possible for the audit firm, Quorum and Company, to provide a member of the staff on a secondment to work in the payroll department. So they want us to provide a member of the staff to work on a secondment basis in the payroll department. That's the second issue, right? So a staff is needed to work in the payroll department because they have some shortage of staff as a company. The payroll manager has struggled to recruit a new supervisor for the organization main payroll system. And because he's struggling to find the right person, he has asked the audit firm, can the audit firm provide a member to work on in the payroll department for 6 months? And wants to assign a qualified member of the staff for a 6-month period. Qualified member he wants for a 6-month period, right? So the staff is required for payroll for a 6 months period, right? So have you found the issues? That is it. And now how many marks? 8. Ethical, professional, action. Now let's focus in the next 30 minutes. You will be amazed. Next 30 minutes are crucial before we get to the break, because we'll drill this question and you learn so much out of it. Now, just before I go to this, just understand the nature of the Turner company. I'm just closing this window, and I just want to discuss with you something here, which is important. Can you see over here, it's written Turner Company, which is a listed financial institution offering loans and credit facilities. Can you read this line? So is Turner a listed financial institution? Is it a listed company? And does listed company plays a crucial part when you're writing in actions in an ethical and professional question? Right? Okay, that's great. Okay, let's go back. And I just want to do something quickly with all of you. I just want to copy this from here, Control C. I just want to take this to my Word file right here. We are doing this September 18, question number 2, B, right? And I'll copy this here, right from this. Can you see the Word file on your screen, everyone? Okay, see, I copied the question. Now, just let me copy the question as well, so we can do a very good analysis. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Sorry. You can just copy the question as well. The question was for 8 marks, asking us to comment on the ethical, professional, and quality control issues. 8 marks, Control C. I'll bring it back to my support file. And this is, okay. Okay, can you see the Word file now in front of your screen, everyone? Okay, great, thank you. Now just copied the question. Now see my analysis and listen to me carefully for the next 20 minutes. Okay. You need to focus on the ethical and professional issues, and you need to focus on actions, right? Now, when you are doing a brainstorming in exam, be very careful about the brainstorming. See how would I do the brainstorming if I am a student? I would first consider in my brainstorming that Turner is a listed company, because I get to know that from the introduction, right? So Turner is a listed company. I just keep that in my list, because for attempting a question on ethical and professional issue, this is very crucial. A listed company. Next. Now, Turner being a listed company, I need to focus on issues plus actions is equal to 8 marks divided by 1 mark each is equal to 8 points in my answer. So I should have 8 points in my answer. Everything is worth 8 marks, whether I write an issue or whether I write a action. Everything is worth 8 marks in my answer, irrespective whether I write more issues and less actions and vice versa, right? No equality of marks here, that 4 marks for issues and 4 marks for actions, right? Okay, you move text and you think, you read the case in order, pick up the issues, and then think how to justify them. Okay, let's read the case. Now, after the case reading, this is what you got. Number one, I think the first thing we got from the case is Janet has agreed to take out a loan. So Janet, an audit team member, Janet has provisionally agreed to take out a loan. Control C, yellow, and we put it down here, number one. Number two, what we got is she wants this loan for purchasing a residence. So she has a self-interest. She wants to purchase a residence from it. And the manager, the business manager, has agreed, Janet, that she will get the best deal. Control C, she will get the best deal. And you bring it down as the second issue here, Control V. You move next. The payroll manager at Turner has asked the supervisor if it would be possible for Quorum and Company to provide a member of the staff to work in the payroll department. So is it possible for the audit firm to provide a staff to work in the payroll department, but then it make it more clear? The manager is struggling to recruit the person, and they want to assign a qualified member for a 6-month period. So this is basically the issue, right? They want a qualified member to come in for a 6-month period. That is it. Assign a qualified member for a 6-month period to work in the payroll department of the Turner Company, payroll department. Okay. Have I missed out any issue? Tell me. Have I just found the issues in the question, irrespective whether they were ethical or professional? Janet wants to take a loan. I have no idea what issue this is, but that seems very important that Janet wants to take a loan, being an audit member. The manager wants to give him the best terms is another very important statement in the case study. And then because of the staff shortage, the client wants us to give them a qualified member. So it seems like an important issue. So I just found the issues, irrespective they're ethical and professional, and I just wrote them down here. Now comes the next step, which is the most struggling step for the student. See, how would you go about it? I will put the first heading when I'm putting up my answer plan and see what you get in the next 10 minutes here. In my answer plan, just let me increase the font size for my answer plan. Now, when I'm writing my answer plan, I would first pick up the heading, Janet Stott, and I'll write under Janet Stott. I possibly believe that if Janet Stott agrees to take a loan, for purchasing domestic residence, this is equal to a self-interest threat, number one. I'll give you the way to write a proper answer, but I'm just trying to find what is the issue. If she agrees to take a loan for purchasing a domestic residence, she has a self-interest right in purchasing a domestic residence, number one. Then the business manager has promised that she will get the best deal. So business manager promised that Janet gets best deal. So I think the business manager wants to give the best deal to Janet because knowing Janet is an audit team member, and he wants Janet to be influenced by the best deal. So Janet, the best deal. Best deal means not an arm length transaction. Are you treating Janet as an ordinary customer or as a special customer? As a special one, right? Good. So not an arm length transaction, treating Janet as a special customer is equal to a familiarity threat. So Janet will have a familiarity threat because Janet will become too sympathetic with the client. If you get the loan at the best deal, Will you be inclined towards the client as Janet? Will Janet becomes too sympathetic with the client? Will you have a business relationship with the client? Does a business relationship translates into a familiarity threat, everyone? Does a business relationship translates into a familiarity threat? Yes, right? Will Janet become sympathetic if she gets the best deal? Right? So is that a definition of becoming familiarity? Familiarity. And will she lose independence? Will she lose independence because of the familiarity threat, right? Now, what is the problem? The problem is the bank is saying the very best deal the bank can offer. Now, just to ensure that is she getting the deal which is an extraordinary deal, or is she getting a deal which is an ordinary deal? I need to write an action. The best deal which the bank can offer. The audit team should investigate the deal to confirm is it really an arm length or not. You need to read the deal with Janet to confirm that has Janet got a real special deal which is different from the market customer. So you need to investigate this before you conclude whether she got an arm length deal or she does not got an arm length deal, right? I hope you're getting my point here. So the audit team should investigate the deal to confirm is it really an arm length or not, or rather the audit manager, right? The audit manager should investigate this, should investigate the deal to confirm is it really an arm length or not. Before you can conclude, should Janet be removed from the team or not? Because if Janet got the loan on the arm length basis, should she be removed from the team? If she got the loan on an arm length basis, should she be removed from the team? No. But if she got a loan not on an arm length basis, should she be removed from the team? Yes. So is the yellow sentence important? The audit manager should investigate the deal to really confirm is it an arm length or not. Next, if it's not arm length, Janet should be removed as a team member. Janet should be removed as a team member from the audit of Turner Company. From the audit of Turner Company. Am I right? So should she be part of the team? No, she should not be part of the team. So we got one action. We got one action. We got one threat, familiarity. We got one threat, self-interest. So how many marks have we got just under Janet? Under Janet, we got like, under Janet, we got just like 4 marks. Are you getting my track? How am I picking points and how am I trying to make my answer plan workable for all of you? Okay, should we move to the next point, which is secondment, right? Assign a qualified member for payroll department, Saqib, you write an issue first, right? You write an action after. So first you define that because she's taking a loan, it's a self-interest. And if she takes a loan at the best deal, it will create a familiarity threat. So actions are written after you write an issue. So if you think positively, Saqib, you will never be able to write the issues then. So issues are written first, irrespective, the action later mitigates the issue or eliminates the issue. So write the issue first, then write the action, right? I hope you're getting my point, right? Yes, for one issue, there can be multiple actions, Nayan. So you can have one issue with 2 actions, just like we wrote. We had 2 actions for Janet's stock currently. Arm length means which is a normal transaction, right? If I go to a bank, the bank offers me a loan as an ordinary customer, right? But if I go to a bank and the bank knows that I am their audit manager, the bank will give me a special treatment. The special treatment is not an arm length. Okay, moving on. Assign a qualified member for the payroll department. Okay, first of all, if you assign a qualified member for the payroll department for 6 months, should the audit firm first should the audit firm first confirm availability of resources? Availability of resources. Do they have available resources to depute for 6 months? Tell me. Should the audit firm first confirm the availability of resources before deputing the staff for 6 months? 6 months is a big time, right? So if you depute your qualified member for 6 months, should you first look at your schedule that how many audits are coming up in future? And should you look at your staff budgets for future? Are you getting my point, everyone? So should the firm confirm the availability for resources before deputing the staff for 6 months? If they have a staff shortage, should the audit firm depute a staff for 6 months? No. So the audit firm should first confirm whether they have an availability of resource or not, to say yes and no. So confirming the availability of resource is one problem. Sorry, next. If the staff is seconded in the payroll department for 6 months, it will create, number one, a management threat, as the staff can take a lot of decisions working in the payroll department for 6 months, working in the payroll department for 6 months. Hamza, we'll come to the safeguards. Wait for it. We first write issues, then we think it's a listed company or not a listed company, right? We first write the issue, then we say, oh, it's a listed company, no, it's prohibited. That comes at the end of the answer, right? You cannot just write an action first and wrap up the answer. You will only get 1 mark. Management threat, as the staff can take a lot of decisions working in the payroll department for 6 months. Next, self-review threat. If the same staff which worked in the payroll department for 6 months is part of the audit team later, it will create self-review threat. It will create a self-review threat. Sorry, if the work performed by the staff of audit firm will create a self-review threat for audit firm, knowing as the audit firm will be reluctant to review the work on payroll during the course of the audit. Self-review, right? Self-review really make you reluctant, because when you come to the audit and you are checking the payroll, will you be reluctant checking payroll? You know that one of our qualified member worked on payroll. Will that make you really reluctant as an audit firm? Tell me. So the work performed by the staff of audit firm will create a self-review threat for audit firm. Sorry, the work performed by the staff on payroll will create a self-review threat for the audit firm, as the audit firm will be reluctant to review the work on payroll during the course of the audit, knowing the fact that one of their qualified member worked on payroll. So will they unnecessarily perform substantive procedures on payroll? Will they perform test of controls on payroll? No, they know that this work has been performed by our member. They will be less skeptical, right? They will be less skeptical. Next, self-review. Full stop. Okay, now you come to the point. Payroll is part of bookkeeping. Payroll is part of bookkeeping, and payroll is part of bookkeeping services. Payroll is part of bookkeeping services, and Turner being a listed company, Turner being a listed company, it is prohibited to provide any form of bookkeeping services to the listed. See, you write an action after. Hamza, I think, was asking me. You write action after. You tell issues first, and then you say, oh, it's a listed company, I cannot do it. But because you're writing an answer, you first tell examiner, I know the issues, and this is the action. But if you just say, okay, bookkeeping is not allowed, how many marks will you get out of 8? Just 1. So payroll is part of a bookkeeping service, and Turner being a listed company, it is prohibited to provide any form of bookkeeping service to a listed company, particularly the one which is material to the financial statement, particularly the one which is material to the financial statements. Do you believe payroll is material to the financial statements because it's a bank? And do you believe the payroll cost is a very significant cost, is a very significant operating expense for any company? So do you believe for a bank, for a listed bank, salaries and wages will be a very major operating expense? So is it material, particularly the one which is material to the financial statement? You can provide bookkeeping services if it is immaterial to the financial statement. But you cannot provide bookkeeping services which are material to the financial statement, and perhaps payroll is. Right, I'm just writing a sketch answer, right? I'm not writing a full answer. Will I get 1 mark for the last point? Self-review, 1 mark. Management thread, 1 mark. Confirm the availability of resources, 1 mark. Confirm the availability of resources, 1 mark. Now tell me, in my whole answer, my Janet Stott answer, I have self-interest, which is an ethical issue, number 1. Agree? I have a familiarity threat, which is an ethical threat. Then I have my actions. Yellow is my action, right? Then I go to my assigned a qualified member. Assigned a qualified member, I have management threat as a ethical issue, number 1, green. I have a self-review threat as an ethical issue. The last is the action. The action is the yellow. But confirm the availability of resources before we depute staff. Confirm the availability of resources. Do we have resources to offer? Do we have resources to offer? This is professional. Resources, something part of practice management, something part of your practice management as an audit firm. Will you offer a staff for 6 months if you don't have it? Is that a limitation? Is that a limitation of resource? Is that a constraint factor for an audit firm? So if the audit firm does not have the staff available, will they depute it? No. So do you believe it is becoming a limiting factor? Human resources, and human resource is part of your practice management as an audit firm. So that's a professional issue. But did I bifurcate it in my answer that confirm the availability of resource is a professional issue? Did I wrote like that? So anywhere in my answer, did I bifurcate it? This is an ethical issue or this is a professional issue? Did I use the headings? Did I use the heading ethical issue and professional issue? Did I wrote somewhere in my answer, this is an ethical issue and this is a professional issue? Look at my answer, my skeleton answer. Anywhere can you find a term ethical or professional in all my answer? Look at my full answer. But have I given a right answer to the examiner? So you need to focus on the issue from the case study, whatever that is. Write an action, whatever that is. But you're not bifurcating the issue. You're not bifurcating the issue. Look at this before we get to the break now. Listen to me very carefully. I'm trying to make a summary. Listen to the summary very carefully because that's extremely important before we wrap up. Okay, let me take the summary next page. Now, I just need your attention for 1 minute, right? If you have any questions, I'll be responding to them during break, right? Just focus on what I'm writing in the summary before the break. I just need your attention, everyone. Number one, summary. Now, when you're making a summary for what we have been discussing for the last 45 to 50 minutes, number one, in an exam, when you are reading a case on ethical and professional issues, and to write actions, you should read the case top down and annotate the issues in the case study. For each issue you annotated, then explain in your answer why it is an issue and recommend an action in the context of the case, You are not bifurcating the issues. You're not bifurcating the issues into ethical and professional. Rather, you are just focusing on a problem or an issue in the case and explaining why it is an issue to fetch your 1 mark. When I read the case with you, we found Janet taking a loan as a problem or as an important matter. Sometimes issue is a difficult word. Matter is a more easy word. Janet was an important matter, and secondment of a staff was an important matter. Now, when I plot that on my paper and we started discussing the issues around Janet, we found so many. When we started discussing about a qualified member, we found management thread, we found self-review. We even found, what if we don't have the staff available? Then how will we depute it? Now that becomes a constraint factor. And then we wrote an action because it's a listed company, it's prohibited. So you're not bifurcating the issues. You're not putting the headings ethical and professional issues. And that's how you go down with 1 mark for each issue and each action you write. One main issue can have several sub-issues, Just like Janet, how many issues were there under Janet? So many. How many issues were there under secondment? So many. So one main issue can have several sub-issues, and one issue can have more than one action. So you can manage your marks accordingly, right? Just read the bullet number 1 to 6 and tell me how comfortable you are from bullet number 1 to 6 in summary. Tell me, I'm giving you 1 minute, read it out, please, everyone. And I need an answer from each one of you. How comfortable you are looking at the bullet 1 to 6. Read in 2 minutes. Absorb, please. One issue can have several sub-issues. Look at this, Janet. See how many issues we had under Janet. Look at the bullets under Janet. Almost 4 bullets under Janet. How many bullets we have under assigned a qualified member of the staff? Almost like 5 bullets. So that's sub-issues, right? And one issue can have more than one actions. How many actions we had for Janet? See, we had 2 actions for Janet, right? The audit manager should investigate the deal and Janet should be removed. 2 actions for 1 issue. I've demonstrated everything, right? What I wrote in the summary. So is everyone clear? Are you finding some clues on going into the case? See, sometime when we say ethical and professional issue, or if I say ethical and a professional matter, I think that is a proper word. When you're reading a case, try to pick up a matter which needs attention. That is simple. I think this is what you should note down as a tutor advice before the break comes in. Tutor advice. Ethical and professional matter. Don't think of an issue, because when you think of an issue, you think negative, right? Because I think you have a limited definition of the word issue. Look at the word meta. Ethical and professional meta. That is better, because ethical and professional meta means any matter in the case which needs the attention of the audit manager. Attention of the audit manager. You are an audit manager, right? Ethical and professional matter means any matter in the case which needs the attention of the audit manager, or which needs the attention of the audit manager, right? And that's how you pick up a matter in the case which needs attention of the manager. Now, Janet was taking a loan. Was that a matter which needs the attention of the manager? Yes. Seconding a staff for 6 months. Was that a matter which needs the attention of a manager? Right? So this is how you need to think. This is how you need to pick up. Now we're taking a break. But just before we get to the break, please listen to this very carefully. Right after the break, we'll have more discussion around professional issues. And right after the break, we'll be moving out towards the quality control matters, which is another issue of concern among students. What is a quality control matter? How you attempt a question on a quality control matter. I'll be discussing that. How you judge, how you pick a quality control matter from the case study. And that would be a more better knowledge for all of you today. And we'll be discussing the elements of quality control in the session today, and we'll be attempting an exam question on quality control as well today, which is September 18, question number 3B. So another 1 hour to go, and another 1 hour focused on ethical, professional, and quality control issues. If needed, we can spend another extra 30 minutes tomorrow when we start the day 4. So don't be worried about it. If you're left with something incompleted today, we can stretch that by 30 minutes tomorrow when we start the session for day 4. Now, just before we get to the break, please tell me, how was the session today? Have you been able to learn something in the last approximately 2 hours? And I'll be answering your question shortly. It's 7:21 p.m. Pakistan time. So we'll be resuming by 7:35 p.m. right? Pakistan time. 7:35 p.m. Please be back to classroom. Have everyone noted that? 7:35 p.m. Please be back to classroom. I'm just muting myself. And we'll be resuming at 7:35. Thank you so much for your feedback, everyone. And the basic objective of this webinar is to guide you. It's the basic agenda of this webinar is to give you the outlines so you can be successful, right? Thank you so much. Off to a break. I'm muting myself. Okay, we just have 2 more minutes for break. Okay, Aisha, your question, for a listed company, non-audit services can be provided for immaterial divisions. Yes, yes, yes. Generally, if something is immaterial in a listed company, or you can find the materiality in some past papers, it was possible to find the materiality by the numbers. So that is possible for a listed company. Jennifer, this is for significant ROM. If I don't have enough time in exam to arrange the order of significance, after writing all my answer, can I write beside the header of each point 1, 2, 3, 4? No, 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 never, never, never. The person checking your paper will get confused. If you cannot arrange them in significance, ignore it. You're just losing 1 mark for it. So either do them in order of significance if you can, or some of them, but don't put these numbers, right? Don't put these numbers. It will make the assessor confused. I hope you're getting the answer, Jennifer, for that. Okay, so I thought I can utilize this time answering some of your queries. 1 more minute away. So Fatini is asking, do we need to state that it is material division or not? Yes, if you can find that from a case study, if it is material or not, and you can conclude, you can comment on it. Okay, so we are resuming, right? Nayan, yes, you can do it. Nayan is asking a question. Can we write some extra points in the answer to be on the safe side? Yes, depends. You are not wasting a lot of time on it. But if you can, instead of writing 6 points, you can write 7. That's good. But don't write a lot because it's wasting your time, right? Okay, I'm resuming after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Day 3 of the webinar to success. I'm your tutor Kashif Kamran. We were discussing ethical, professional, and quality control issues, and that's what we are resuming right after the break. Let's move on and let's look at a question which comes on quality control, and let's see how to drill that out. Now, moving away, look at this on your screen now. Examiner expectation when a question involves quality control meta. Now that's more risky because students are not even good at professional. Now comes another issue, quality control. Look at the bullet number 1 on your screen. Comment on the quality. Comment on the quality of planning and performing the audit. Discussing the quality control and professional issues. So examiner is saying, can you comment on the quality of the planning of the audit? Can you comment on the quality of how the audit was performed? Comment on it and discuss the issues. Which issues the examiner wants you to discuss? The quality control issues and professional issues. No ethical issues there, right? So examiner wants you to discuss the quality control issues and the professional issues, and then to comment on the overall quality of planning and performing the audit. Look at the next question. It says, comment on the quality again of the audit performed, discussing the quality control, ethical, and professional issues raised. So you need to discuss the quality control issues, the ethical issues, and professional issues raised in the second question. So the second question has all 3 of them. The first question has 2 of them. But look at the start of the question. It says, comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed, discussing the issues. Now, try to understand this question before we get to a case study very quickly, and we'll try to find out that it's about picking up an issue. It's not picking up the class of an issue. So if you remember the 6 steps I've given you prior to the break, can you see the word file? If you remember the 6 steps, not bifurcating them, focusing on the issue, writing the issue, not focusing on the class of issue, things will be pretty simple for you. Can you all see the word file? Please confirm that. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic. And this will be very interesting 45 minutes if you just keep focus on what I'm trying to tell you. Quality control issues alongside ethical and professional issues, in the exam paper. So you know that there is a complete question which comes in the exam context which ask you quality control issues alongside ethical and professional issues. Very common question, right? In the past papers, if you have really put time on the past papers so far, so forth. Now, look at this, what the question asks you. The question first asks you requirement. Most of the time, the question on quality is like follow, is as follow. Try to understand, because if you understand question, half the answer gets done. If you don't understand the question, your stress level increases. Okay, this is how the question comes in. The question says, comment on the quality of how audit was planned and performed, comma. Comment on the quality of how audit was planned and performed, comma. And after the comma, the examiner says, discussing the ethical, professional, and quality control issues and recommend actions where necessary. Now understand this. Now, if I am reading this question as a student, this is how I would be reading this question on the screen. I would say, okay, the examiner wants me to discuss, number one, the issues, whatever the issues are, right? Whether they are ethical issues, quality control issues, or professional issues. I will just read the case, and from the case, I'll try to find the issues which are matters which needs attention. So what will I do? I will say, okay, this is how would I be going down with it, number one. Now, I will say that I would be discussing issues means any matters in the case which are important or need attention, right? That is a simple definition. I will be discussing the issues. I will not be discussing the class of issues as a good student. I will just be focusing on, okay, this is the issue means any matter in the case which are important or need attention. Is that definition good for you? Discussing issues means any matter in the case which are important or need attention of a manager, right? Now, you pick the issues and you start to discuss them one by one, not interested to bifurcate them into the classes, not bifurcating issues in classes, not bifurcating issues in classes, or not even worried about how would I know this is a quality control issue? How would I know this is a quality control issue or professional issue in the case study? In the case, because this is a frequently asked question of the student. How would I know this is a quality control issue in the case? Can you tell me? How would I know this is a professional issue? Can you tell me? And I get so many messages on WhatsApp about this. My concern is there is no bifurcation of the issue. So why are you concerned about it? I think the bullet number one is very, very important, that you simply find anything from the case which needs attention, irrespective, is it quality control? Is it professional? Is it ethical? How would I know this is an ethical issue? I think that's simple, because the moment you find a self-review thread, the moment you find a management thread, the moment you find an advocacy thread, you say, oh, I found an ethical issue. You're so happy, right? You never ask a question, how would I know this is an ethical issue? Do you ask this question? Never, because you so go down that. Now, just like the question we were doing on Janet and a qualified member for secondment, we found ethical issues, right? And you were happy. There was just one professional issue, right? But not bifurcating the issues not bifurcating the issues in classes, or not even worried about it in the classes of ethical, professional, and quality control, right? So how would I know this is a quality control issue or a professional issue? Should I be concerned about this question? I should not be concerned about this question. But then the problem is the examiner wants to do something very special here. What special? Examiner wants that after the issues are discussed, you need to comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed. What should I do for this in exam paper? Look at the bullet number 3 and tell me, is it exactly what I'm trying to read your mindset currently as a student? Have I read your mindset well? Look at the bullet number 3 and tell me, was this striking your mind currently? Be quick. So do examiner wants you to comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed beside discussing the issues? Look at the question here. Beside discussing the issues, do the examiner wants you to discuss a comment on how the audit was performed and planned in terms of quality? Now you say, my tutor is telling me that I should not be worried about whether the issue is quality control or the issue is professional in the bullet number 2. And then in the bullet number 3, my tutor is telling me that examiner wants you to comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed. So when I don't know what is a quality control issue, how would I comment on it? Am I putting the right perspective here? So the tutor is telling you in the bullet number 2, there is no need to bifurcate, no need to worry about what is quality control and what is professional. And the tutor is telling you in the bullet number 3 that the examiner wants you to comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed. Now, if I don't know what is a quality control issue, how would I comment on it? So should I proceed towards an case study to guide you about brainstorming bullet 1, brainstorming bullet 2, and brainstorming bullet 3? So is this a relevant question, bullet number 3? Look at the question at the end of the bullet number 3. Is that relevant? What should I do for this in exam paper? Comment on the quality of how audit is planned and performed. When the tutor is saying you should not be worried about the bifurcation, right? Let's move on. Okay, now listen to me very carefully. Comment on the quality. Comment on the quality of how the audit was planned and performed. How the audit was planned and performed means. Now comes the answer. What exactly this mean? Comment on the quality of how audit is planned and performed means. What means? Means, bullet number 1, you need to give a conclusion at the end of your answer when you have discussed all issues irrespective of the class of issue. When you have discussed all the issues irrespective of class of issue, you need to give a conclusion at the end of your answer when you have discussed all the issues irrespective of the class of issues, that how the issues above affect audit quality. How the issues above affect the audit quality in terms of planning and performing. So comment on the quality is like giving a conclusion at the end of the answer. It should be just like 2 to 3 sentences. It should just be like 2 to 3 sentences. That is it. So comment on the quality means to conclude the whole answer. So what are you finding in the whole answer? Issues. Now, do you believe many issues compromise the quality of the audit? Do you believe issues affects the quality of the audit? Do you believe issues are basically the input and quality is the output? So if there are multiple issues, the quality will be affected. Is there a correlation between issues and quality, everyone? Is there a correlation between issues and quality? So when we are finding issues, accumulation of the issues will lead to the quality being compromised. Agree? So should I comment on the quality on an individual basis? No, I should not comment on the quality on the individual basis, because accumulation of the issues will compromise the quality, right? Are you getting the bullet number one? You need to give a conclusion. So is everyone clear with what literally is the meaning of the word comment on the quality? I will just be demonstrating that in the last 45 minutes of the session today when I drill and answer with you. So are we concerned with bifurcating issues, or are we concerned with what is a quality control issue? No. Are we really worried about matters in the case which needs attention? So if you just focus on this in the next 45 minutes, you will be amazed how quickly the answer gets wrapped up. And then I'll give you a knowledge of the ISQC1, which is the standard which deals with quality control. And I'm doing the vice versa this time, right? I used to give the knowledge of ISQC1 first, and then we used to do a question. But this time, I'm doing a question first, and then give you the knowledge of ISQC1, and you will be amazed that you did something in the case without even knowing the ISQC1, and the answer was 100% right. Should we start a question? Should we start the September 18 question number 3B, which is on it? September 18 question number 3B. Let's start with it. Let's do a drill to understand it more effectively. I hope whatever I've discussed with you so far, so forth, makes sense to all of you, right? Okay, now just to save my time, I'm not going back to the practice platform. I'm just taking it from my PDF version. Or just let me show you this 1 minute. If I can share the screen with you. Okay, can you see the practice platform in front of your screen, everyone? We were on the question number 2, right? Right, good. Okay, we're moving to the next question, question number 3. I hope you can see the question 3 on your screen now. Now, question 3, again, you on the left-hand side, you can see the requirement A and the requirement B. The requirement B is basically about the area which we are focusing on. Let's open the requirement number B and let's focus on what is the requirement basically. Okay, can you see the requirement B on your screen, everyone? Can you just read it out? I hope you can see the requirement on your screen. Right? So examiner is saying using the exhibit 2. So should we use exhibit 1? No, we should only use exhibit 2 and then write an answer for comment on the comment on how the audit was planned and performed, discussing the quality control and professional issues. How many marks we have? 10. So how many issues we need to find from the case study, including the conclusion? 10, right? So I'm putting a case in front of you, exhibit number 2. I hope you can see the exhibit number 2 now on your screen in front. This is the exhibit number 2 in front of your screen. Quite a long exhibit. Okay, I should give you some time to read it out. Can you read the exhibit in front of your screen, the para 1, the para 2, and the para 3? Can you read till the para 3 here, working papers, quickly? Start reading from one of your colleague, start reading from here and start reading and reading at working papers. You have 4 minutes. Start reading the first 3 paragraphs. Okay, are you still reading the question? Can you see the question in front of your screen, right? Okay, have you all read till the working papers? Have you all read till the working papers? Very good. Okay, now do one favor. Can you just read the last paragraph on your screen from one issue? Read from one issue, the last paragraph, up to the financial statements quickly. You have another 3 minutes. Read from one issue to the end of the case. 3 more minutes, and then we'll do an excellent drill of the answer. And you will be amazed that without even knowing the ISQC1, you can solve a question on quality control. And then I'll tell you the elements of quality control at the end of the answer. This is the best way you can learn this for exam paper. Okay, have you been able to read it from the last paragraph in front of your screen, everyone? Okay, very good. Even if you have not read it partially, or you've read partially, that's even fine for the session today. You can read back at home the full question, right? Now, what was the requirement of this question? Let's pick it out. The requirement was to use the exhibit 2 and comment on the professional and quality control issues for 10 marks. Control C. Let me share the Word file. Can you all see the Word file in front of your screen now? September 18, question number 3B. Can we just put the requirement on top here? This was the requirement for 10 marks, right? Which we need to do now. Okay, just let me take this question on the next page so we can have a very good analysis of this question, and you will be amazed that without even knowing the standard, you can solve the question. Okay, now we need to comment on the quality. And I've just given you a mindset that comment on the quality means to conclude, right? At the end of the answer. But basically, what are we discussing? Basically, we are discussing the issues. So that's basically is the requirement of the question, discussing the issues for 10 marks. How many issues we need to discuss? 10. Okay, let's start doing that. Issues. Now you open the case, and when you are focusing on the issues, what you should focus on? You should focus on the matters which are important in the case study. If you keep that in your mind, answer becomes easier. Now see, I will just be focusing on the matters which are important, and we'll just find 10 good matters from the case study, and then we'll write the answer, and then we'll finally comment on the quality, right? Let's start the journey one by one with each of you. No bifurcation of the issues. Okay, one of your colleague at the Janssen company, which is the audit firm, Rodney, has been taken ill at a short notice, and you have been temporarily assigned as an audit manager on Watson Company, which is a listed company on a second-tier investment market. The audit of Watson is approaching completion, and you are in the process of reviewing the audit working paper. Now tell me, You have been temporarily assigned as a manager at a time when the audit is approaching completion. Is that the right time to assign a manager? Will the manager be having the right rigor? Will the manager be having the right knowledge of Watson Company? Do you believe this manager is coming at a time when everything is under panic? So will he be under panic? Will he be under a lot of stress? Will he have the right knowledge of Watson? Can he overlook issues while he's conducting the review of the working paper? Can he overlook the issues while he's conducting the review of the working paper? He is in the process of reviewing the working paper. So can we pick this all as one issue? Temporarily assigned audit manager becomes the first issue. So I'll go back. I'll just put it right here under my brainstorming. Number one, brainstorming. I'll just keep giving them the numbers. I'll just keep giving them the numbers. This is not the way you answer the question in an exam, because a lot of students ask me, this is just a class sketch, right? This is just a class sketch answer. So no student asks me, this is the way to write the answer. So many times student asks this illogical question. It's just a sketch answer. One, temporary assigned manager. When audit is nearing completion, temporarily assigned manager when audit is nearing completion is not the right time to come in as a manager, will not have good knowledge of Watson, will not have good knowledge of Watson, and might overlook issues when performing review of working papers. Do you believe review of a working paper is a very important activity at the stage of completion? And because he's a temporarily assigned manager, not having the right knowledge, not having the right rigor, might overlook issues. So is that an issue? Overlooking issues? He might overlook issues in the conduct of review, and not having a good knowledge is an issue. So is this my first issue for Denmark's temporarily assigned manager? Number one, everyone. Right? And ABC is basically the explanation. ABC is basically the explanation, right? For 1 mark. Okay, let's look at the issue number 2. Okay, the first issue we found was a temporarily assigned manager, number 1. Let's highlight that in blue. Okay, sorry, let's highlight that in yellow because we're finding the issues in yellow, sorry. So let's keep that in yellow. Okay. The draft financial statement for the year recognized profit of 54.2 million and the total assets of 23.1. Why does the examiner give us the numbers? Will it help us find materialities later? Okay, fine. The first paragraph gets over. Come to the next paragraph. The audit supervisor, who is a part qualified accountant, has sent you an email from which the following extract is taken. A supervisor who is performing audit of Watson being a listed company, he's a part qualified chartered certified accountant. Do you believe this is a matter which needs an urgent attention? Irrespective, it is professional, irrespective, it is quality control. Yes, an audit supervisor who's a part qualified accountant. Audit supervisor who's a part qualified accountant. Control C, Control V. And you come down with A. Audit supervisor who's a part qualified chartered accountant means he is not fully competent or capable to be a supervisor. I hope you understand the supervisor is like a job in charge. Supervisor is like a job in charge, right? So he's not fully competent. He's not fully capable to be a supervisor. And you know, the responsibility of a supervisor is to supervise the audit. So that means the supervision of the audit, is not well performed. Supervision of the audit is not well performed not well performed. And that means the issues must be ignored. Issues must be ignored during the conduct of audit, because he himself is incompetent. So how can he look into the issues? So there are a couple of points you can mention for the part qualified accountant, right? Supervisor is a job in charge, right? And for a job in charge, you need to be fully qualified, right? Nowhere in Pakistan you have a job in charge who is partly qualified. That's a very wrong statement, right? Whoever is putting that. So audit supervisor is part qualified. He should be fully qualified. Then only he can perform the supervisory job. Supervisory means important task. Is everyone clear? Right. I'll be writing a proper statement, James, once I complete my brainstorming. The first thing is brainstorming. The second thing is to write an answer, right? If I just write an answer, it will take a lot of time. I should first give you the issues, then I'll write the answer. Are we bifurcating issues, Hamza? Am I saying temporarily assigned manager is a professional issue or a quality control issue? Am I saying audit supervisor is a professional issue or a quality control issue? No. But are we writing the issue? It's currently? Are we just focusing on the issues currently? And are you, is this making sense to you? We are just picking issues and we're trying to justify it. Okay, let's look at the issue number 3. The issue number 3, the supervisor has sent you an email. Who is you? Has sent you an email. Who is you here? You is the temporarily assigned manager, the temporarily assigned manager, you. So let's see the manager email. The manager got an email. What's written in the email by the supervisor? Open inverted comma. The supervisor is telling something to the manager. It is great to have you on board. As I was beginning to worry that there would be no manager review of our working papers prior to the final audit clearance meeting next week. So the final audit clearance meeting is next week. And that is the time when you saw the temporarily assigned manager. Now you have just 1 week with a poor supervision, a temporarily assigned manager coming in. 1 week ahead, you have a final meeting with those charged with governance. Do you believe this is a lot of stress time for a temporarily assigned manager? And this is a very crucial time when he's coming in. So the final audit clearance meeting is next week. You can just write this point here. Temporarily assigned manager, audit is nearing completion. You can write it in the bracket here. Final clearance meeting is next week. So he's coming at a very wrong time, right? And must be under a lot of stress that he needs to wrap up things within a 1 week time. He might be overlooking things. Look at 1 week. 1 week will put him under pressure and he will be so stressed to overlook things. So I'm not just making a separate point for it, the final clearance meeting, but you can connect this with the point number 1. The audit assistant means the junior, right? And myself. Who's myself here? The audit assistant is the junior and myself. Who is the myself? The supervisor. Have done our best to complete all the audit work. Who have completed all the audit work? Just 1 assistant and 1 supervisor? How many people are there in the team? Just 2? Audit assistant and myself has done the best to complete all the audit work. Do you believe this is an issue? Irrespective of whatever that issue is. Number 3, the audit assistant and myself has done the best to complete the audit work. Just 2 people in the audit team, performing work for a listed company, which is too less. This is a judgmental factor, right? But I hope you agree with me. This is too less. Moreover, the assistant is a junior and the supervisor is not even qualified. Supervisor is not even qualified. So can you imagine what amount of work must have been done? The supervisor is not even qualified. It brings a question mark. It brings a doubt on the evidence gathered, question mark. It brings a question mark on the evidence gathered, sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence, Do you agree with me? Will this bring a question mark on the evidence gathered, because just the two people working, one of them is not even qualified, and the junior cannot be qualified, right? The junior is a junior. So two people, right? So see, 3 issues found, not even knowing which issue is quality, which issue is professional, not even knowing which issue compromised the quality. But have we been capable of finding 3 issues for 3 marks, everyone? So to find an issue, you just need to focus on the matter, which is important. Let's do 2 more and then wrap up the answer. I'm getting to 50% of the answer. Let's find 2 more. Okay. The assistant and myself has done the best to complete all the audit work, but we only saw Rodney. Who was Rodney? The previous manager, right? Who fell ill. We only saw Rodney on the first day of the audit. On the first day of the audit, about a month ago, when I think he was already feeling unwell. So you found the manager on the first day, that is a month ago. So over the 1 month period, has this audit been without a manager? For a month period, has this audit been without a manager? Because they saw Rodney on the first day about a month ago. So can we say this audit has been without a manager for a 1 month time? Everyone? So no manager for 1 month, right? No manager for 1 month till the time you found a temporary manager in the last 1 week. No manager for 1 month means no proper direction. No proper direction, because the manager is there to give you direction, right? Supervisor is there to supervise you. No proper direction to the audit, as the manager was not available. And even the audit firm didn't bothered about deputing a new manager early. Look at the bullet number B. Even the audit firm didn't bother about deputing a new manager early when they debuted it 1 week ago. So is the audit firm to be blamed here? Do you believe the audit firm was lazy to depute a new manager? Should we criticize the audit firm here that they were lazy in deputing the new manager and they deputed it just a week ago? So even the audit firm didn't bother about deputing a new manager early. So the audit was about without direction. So risky areas must be overlooked. Important areas must have been overlooked. So risky areas must have been overlooked or not performed properly because you were without a direction. Yes, we can criticize the audit firm, right? Because the supervisors and the managers are from the audit firm, right? And it is the audit firm responsibility, right, to depute an alternative. Who is responsible to depute an alternative? The audit firm. They didn't depute it. Okay, no manager for a month, move back. Last issue. We had a short briefing meeting with him at which he told us, if in doubt, follow the last year working paper. So did you had a short meeting with him before he started feeling unwell and he left? And in this short meeting, he told, if in doubt, follow the last year working paper. Is that the right guidance he's giving you at the start of the audit, that if you are in doubt, follow the last year working paper? Is that right? Is that a right statement? What about a new issue, which is not in the last year working paper? What will I do? If some issue is new, what will I do? Will I find it in the last year working paper? No. So the last point, the 5th one, audit assistant, sorry, this is not the point. The point is we had a short meeting with the manager, Control C, Control V. We had a short meeting with the manager when he told us, if in doubt, follow the last year working paper. That means the short meeting, just let me increase the font size for this so that you can see it clearly. Short meeting means that no proper planning was carried out. Briefing meeting is a planning meeting, right? I hope you agree with me. Briefing meeting is a planning meeting, right? Short meeting means that no proper planning was carried out, or planning was carried out in haste, or planning was carried out in haste as the manager wasn't well. Short. The instruction of the manager is wrong because if there is a new issue, it will not be in the last year working paper. Yes, I can learn from the last year working paper, no doubt about it, because last year working paper is a source of knowledge to see how work was performed. So if I need to perform work on expenses, I can see the last year working paper, how work was performed on expenses. If I need to perform work on revenue, I can see the last year working paper of how the work was performed on revenue. But the statement is wrong because if there is a new issue, will that be in the last year working paper? Then what will the supervisor do if there is a new issue? He will be blank. I hope you're getting my point here. The instruction of the manager is wrong because if there is a new issue, it will not be in the last year working paper, and the supervisor will then not be performing it well, or the assistant will not be performing it well. Assistant / supervisor will not be performing it well. So 5 issues in front of your screen, not even knowing which of them is quality control, not even knowing which of them is professional. Now tell me, will the examiner give you marks for picking the issue and explaining why it is an issue? Or will the examiner be happy that you split the issues in 2 columns like a AA paper? You make 1 column professional issue, you make 1 column quality control issue. Not at all. You are giving a mature paper, a AAA paper, where you just need to focus on the issue and why. Look at my answer in front of your screen. Anywhere in my answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, have you found professional quality as a terminology? But have I justified the issues? Tell me. Have I justified the issues, everyone? Right now, I have done this question in my previous webinars, which I've recommended you. So you will watch my previous webinars. This last paragraph, I've already addressed that in my previous webinars, the 3 I have recommended you. Just one quick thing is that when you look at this last paragraph, it tells you that the cash settled share-based payment scheme was granted to the directors for the first time. So is it a new issue? Will this be in the prior year working paper? Will there be any working paper for the cash settled share-based payment scheme in the prior year working papers? And do you believe cash settled share-based payment scheme is a complex area and a part qualified supervisor might not do it properly? And he has done so much blunders on the share-based payment right over here. You can see the blunders when you read this at home and you watch my previous webinars. Clear with this, everyone? So a lot of blunder has been done in the last paragraph to make further 5 points. But suppose, just to wrap up things, I have 5 points on screen, right? If I convert these 5 points into paragraphs and then write a comment on a quality as a conclusion, see how would you go about it? Suppose I'm writing an answer. So this is how I would be writing my very good answer for examiner. Now, I think there was a question from a student that can you write a full answer? See this. Answer, September 18, question number 3B. I'm writing a 50% answer. See how would I write it? The audit of Watson performed to date with 1 week remaining, for the final clearance meeting, has several issues as reported by the supervisor in his email, which questions the overall quality and conduct of audit. The issues are as follow. And you write the issue. See how I give an introduction. In the introduction, I say the audit of Watson performed to date with 1 week remaining for the final clearance meeting has several issues as reported by the supervisor in the email, which question the overall quality and the conduct of the audit. I hope you agree with the issues we have discussed so far. They do question the quality and conduct of the audit, right? The issues are as follow. The first issue, temporarily assigned manager. See how I convert this to a paragraph. I just need to be a bit quicker. Temporarily assigned manager. The audit, the temporary manager, I'm using the short forms just to fit things in time. The temporary manager has been assigned at a very inappropriate time, when audit is nearing completion. This means he has walked in at a time when everything needs to be wrapped up, in 1 week time. With less knowledge of the business, with less knowledge of Watson, the temporary manager can ignore or overlook issues when reviewing the working papers. With less knowledge of the Watson, the temporary manager can ignore or overlook issues when reviewing the working papers, and he would be under time stress to complete things quickly. And that quickly is an issue, full stop. First issue, done. And I get my first 1 mark. Second, supervisor is a part qualified. My next heading. Supervisor is a part qualified. So I think some of the student was asking, can you write a full sentence? I hope you're getting the answer, whoever that was. Audit supervisor is a part qualified. This means that the supervisory responsibilities during the conduct of the audit, was not properly fulfilled, as the supervisor is not fully competent to deal with complex accounting issues, like IFRS 2, which is coming in the last paragraph, share-based payment. This means that the supervisory responsibility during the conduct of audit was not properly fulfilled, as supervisor is not fully competent to deal with complex accounting issues like IFRS 2. Being part qualified, he must have issued wrong judgments. He must have issued wrong judgments to the assistant, which would have compromised the adequacy of work performed, by the assistant. So he was a supervisor, right, to the assistant. Now, being not competent, he would have given wrong advices to the assistant, and the assistant would have followed those advices, knowing he's my boss, eventually leading to a question mark on the adequacy of work. Then you go down with the third issue in the same way. Issue number 3, sorry. I hope you can continue from here now. Issue number 3, then you go down with issue number 4 in the same way in the paragraph form. Then you go down with the issue number 5 in the paragraph form. And when you wrap up the answer, at the end of the answer, you write a conclusion like this. You put a heading, conclusion, and you comment on the quality. And you say, on the basis of the above issues, primarily, on the basis of the above issues, primarily inappropriate review by the manager, inadequate supervision by the supervisor, and a lack of direction by Rodney, at the start of audit, and by his absence, for 1 month. The quality of the audit performed for Watson has been compromised, full stop. See this conclusion? Now I introduce the word that the quality has been compromised, but I'm justifying why above. See, I started my answer even with a paragraph here saying which questions the overall quality and conduct of audit. The following are the issues. I started with an intro line there, and then I end with an intro line. I end with a conclusion that because of this, the quality has been compromised. Now, I hope if anyone has a knowledge of ISQC1 and you've studied quality control, review, supervision, and direction is a critical component of quality control. Agree, disagree? Do you believe direction, review, and supervision are fundamentals of quality control written in the ISQC1? Now, tell me, what was the difficulty in this question? I just attacked the question as a normal question with issues. I started with an opening paragraph, which you can write in the exam paper. Look at this opening paragraph here. I hope you learned this out today, that how I started the opening paragraph. Did you like this start of the opening paragraph? Everyone? And did you found how I went into the issues? And when I was writing the issue, am I using the word quality or professional anywhere unnecessarily? Have I used the word quality anywhere in my answer? No. But then in the conclusion, have I picked up the main issues to conclude? You have to write 10, right? And on the basis of 10, you will conclude. But you cannot write all the 10 in your conclusion, right? Conclusion means important. So out of the 10, you might pick 3 to 4 issues which are important, and you wrap up your answer. How many issues I wrote? I wrote almost 3 issues out of 5, and I said quality was compromised. So this is the way you answer the examiner question. When the examiner question asks you, comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit of the Watson company. So you start with an intro, you end with a conclusion, and in the middle of the answer, you're just focusing on the issues. I hope you're getting this track. And what are issues? What definition have I given you for issues today? Issues are matters in the case study which needs urgent attention. Irrespective whether they are ethical, whether they are professional, whether they are quality control. So when we are finding issues in this question, were we focused on asking, did I ask you final clearance meeting? Is this an ethical issue? Final clearance meeting, is this a professional issue? No, we just picked final clearance meeting and we justified. 1 mark, right? Hamza, 1 mark for every point you write. So see this, temporary assigned manager, 1 mark. Audit supervisor who is part qualified, 1 mark. Audit assistant and myself has done the best. Every issue is 1 mark, right? And you get 1 mark for the conclusion, right? You get 1 mark for the conclusion. So you can write 9 issues and 1 conclusion, and that wraps up the answer. Clear? So please watch my previous webinars and please ensure that you know the fundamentals of quality control from my previous webinars. This is just one glimpse of that. See this. Look at your screen. And when we were concluding the conclusion, see this. See this. We came across this in the question. There was a lack of direction. There was a lack of supervision. There was a lack of review of the working papers. And these are all elements of quality control. But we just picked them up on the knowledge. And we use the word review, we use the word supervision, we use the word direction in the conclusion paragraph. No, you will not write any actions, right? Because the question is not asking for actions, Fatini. The question is not asking for actions, right? Now look at this. Was there an issue with the assignment of the team in this question? Just two members were doing audit of the listed company. Was there an issue with the assignment of the team in this question? Tell me. Was there an issue with direction in this question? Was there an issue in supervision? Was there an issue with review? But are we using this terminology when we answering the question? No, we just use these terminologies at the end of the answer. So what is so difficult with the question on quality control, everyone? If you want to get a knowledge on what is leadership, what is ethics, what is acceptance, what is assignment of a team, what is consultation, please watch the 3 previous webinars I have recommended you, which is this, because I've covered them in my previous webinars. If you want to take the knowledge of the elements, I think one of the student was asking it. So if you want to take knowledge, please watch these 3 webinars and you will be good. I think 1 mark is like 2 to 3 sentences, Rohena, but it depends upon the case. Sometimes for 1 mark, because the case is so productive, we even write 4 sentences. But normally for 1 mark, we write 2 to 3 sentences. Is that clear? So how was the session today? Have you got something from the session today? Have you got some links to ethical judgments, professional judgments, and quality control judgments? So have you got some motivation from the session today? What was the key learning today? Just in 2 minutes, if you can drop that in the chat box. What was the key thing you learned today, everyone? Just be quick. What was the key thing? What is one key thing you thought, oh, this is the best thing I learned today? Okay, so have you got a track of how you read questions, how you brainstorm questions, how you find points from the question, how you put them in the drafting answers, how you develop a point, how you ensure that you are answering the why in your answer? Okay, so I think I should then be wrapping up my day 3 webinar to success, which was focusing on ethical, professional, and quality control issues today. And we even discussed business risk at the start of the webinar as well today. So we had quite a diversified agenda today. Business risk at the start, followed by ethical, professional, and quality control issues. You will be getting the Word file on the WhatsApp group along with the presentation. Tomorrow is a very important day as we focus on reporting. Reporting is a core question. And in every exam setting, you get a question on completion and reporting. So we'll focus on reporting tomorrow. All your misconceptions about reporting will be solved tomorrow in a 3-hour session. And if you can just drop a quick feedback of the session today on a scale of 1 being poor and 5 being excellent, in a passage of just next 10 seconds would be great. Okay, so I hope you are liking this webinar to success. 3 days done, 2 days remaining, and the next day, tomorrow, day 4, is very, very important and crucial. Please join that live tomorrow, and the recordings will be uploaded on my YouTube channel and will be shared in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so very much for all participating in this webinar to success day 3. This is your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from the webinar to success day 3. I'll see you back tomorrow, day 4. Take good care of yourself. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.